Hi, Happy New Year, and welcome to the December 2025 edition of Stuff of the Month, where, for the most part, I'm going to share a wide variety of newspaper ads and whatever stuff I have added to my various collections, and also sign off the year 2025 and welcome in the year 2026. Let's begin, shall we? Okay, December 1st, 1961 saw Mr. Sardonicus, William Castle's film adaptation of Ray Russell's gothic horror novelette Sardonicus, open as the top half of a double bill with a stock footage padded cheapie titled Valley of the Dragons. Um, that latter one was directed by Edward Burns, who also directed Return of the Fly and other films. Guy Rawls, who played Sardonicus, did have a long and storied acting career in both film and television. But I will always know him best for his role in Stuart Gordon's delightful and campy 1987 horror fantasy film Dolls, as well as the more sympathetic and paternal version of puppet master Andre Toulon in several of the later entries in the long-running Puppet Master franchise from Full Moon. December 2nd, 1979. The soon-to-be-released Star Trek The Motion Picture, fondly called Star Trek The Motionless Picture, gets the cover of and a nifty marketing push from the Oakland Tribune's At Ease Sunday supplement. December 3rd, 1998. Gus Van Sant's shot-for-shot remake of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho is poised to try and make taking a shower scary again. Did it succeed? I've never seen it. December 4th, 1974. The Horrible House on the Hill, also known as People Toys, but best known perhaps as Devil Times 5, is a delightfully nasty little killer kitty movie that also counts as something of a Christmas-themed horror movie, so it's appropriate. Sorrel Brooke, who is best known for playing Boss Hogg on The Dukes of Hazzard, had a supporting role in this. I also recognized Joan McCall, who played Christopher George's best girl in the 1976 Jaws cash-in Grizzly. So there you go. December 5th, 1932, and you only have 5 days left to see Bela Lugosi in White Zombie because something called The Last Mile is going to be replacing it at the United Artists Theater on Saturday. Okay, puzzles. I assembled two puzzles this month. One was the Cloisters Unicorn Puzzle. The unicorn rests in a garden, a 1,000-piece puzzle I got at the Met Cloisters while visiting it in New York, and a two-sided Stranger Things puzzle. My favorite side is the comic book style cover, and the other side is 11 wearing what really looks like a Chief Hopper style Hawaiian shirt. That was a puzzle we got at a Stranger Things experience that was held at the San Francisco Armory, and that might have even been pre-pandemic. Although the Queen had passed at that time because that was a subject of conversation, and the date is escaping me. All right, back to newspaper ads. Wait, no, I forgot to add the puzzles I got. I added this puzzle for pieces, which I bought from Messed Up Puzzles. The campy cult horror picture that basically said you didn't have to go to Texas for a chainsaw massacre. Chaz Ballin is quoted here, the late great Chaz Ballin. Here's his pieces, jettisons logic entirely, and serves up a smorgasbord of grindhouse essentials with unfettered glee, gratuitous nudity, graphic gore and arterial gushers, bad bimbo aerobics, topless chainsaw chases, incompetent skateboarding, grisly decapitations and dismemberments, gut salads, irresponsible drug use, matricide, inexplicable bouts of crazy ass kung fu, and a nut busting, crotch crunching climax that will pop your eyeballs. Yeah, no lie detected here. If you've seen this movie, you know everything that's being referenced. But this is one of the few remaining messed up puzzles that I want that I did not have, and now I have it, and I'll be putting it together in January or February. As part of a gift exchange game on Christmas Eve, uh, I got a 500-piece Stranger Things puzzle here, which is the artwork for the first season, as well as this Dowdle 300-piece puzzle, uh, Kittens Knittin' Mittens. Say that 3 times fast. But these are also going to get their assembly videos in the early half of 2026. Okay, now to December 8, 1976. And Mansion of the Doomed opens. This was the directorial debut of prolific character actor Michael Pataki, and it is an unsettling and unsightly riff on Eyes Without a Face. Only this time around, it's more like a face without any eyes. Mansion of the Doomed is notable for giving future character actor icon Lance Hendrickson one of his first substantive on screen roles, as well as for giving future special makeup effect and creature effects legend Stan Winston the opportunity to create some really gnarly eyeless donor effects. Not gore effects, this is post surgery eye sockets. And yeah, this movie's pretty dark and nasty. Um, yeah. December 9th, 1942, and Who Done It, starring Abbott and Costello, is opening. Although there looks to be a ghost-like figure just above Abbott's head that is pointing at another ghost-like figure lounging stage right to Abbott's head, there are no supernatural shenanigans in this film. But it was one that I usually watched whenever it popped up. KBHK, Bay Area UHF station back in the day, had a dedicated Saturday afternoon time slot for Abbott Costello movies, and I would never pass on the opportunity to watch any one of their movies that had the slightest tinge or touch of horror, suspense, science fiction, or fantasy to them. So I would regularly watch the duo meetups with the Universal monsters, Frankenstein, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the Mummy, the Invisible Man. That time they went to Mars, which was actually Venus, and New Orleans. And the ones whenever they became entangled in a murder mystery, which is what Whodunit is. Also, it's set at a radio station and does a nice job of recreating the old-time radio, which I also love. So, let's move on. December 10th, 1978, and the tour production of Edward Gorey's popular Broadway revival of Dracula arrives just in time for the holiday season. Jeremy Brett would be playing the role of Dracula, and Brett is perhaps best known for his portrayal of Sherlock Holmes in a long-running series of episodic and feature-length television programs for Britain's Granada Television. Sadly, he passed away in 1995. December 11th, 1968. Here we have a triple bill for Night of the Living Dead, Ghidra the Three-Headed Monster, and Doctor Who and the Daleks. And I can't think of a better trio that better encapsulates my overall viewing and collecting habits and tastes than this triple bill. You've got a George Romero zombie movie, which is a iconic horror classic. You've got a Japanese monster movie, which also is notable because this is the movie where Godzilla went from heel to face. And we also learned he has a salty tongue because when the fairies ask him to help humanity, he roars back, and their response is, Godzilla, such language! And finally, you have Doctor Who and the Daleks, which is the first of two films from Amicus that featured Peter Cushing as the Doctor. And what is interesting about this is because most of the science fiction lore that people have grown up with on Doctor Who hadn't been invented or conceptualized yet. Because when these movies, or this movie in particular, went into production, um, William Hartnell was still the Doctor. Patrick Troughton hadn't come in and replaced him yet. So it's a really interesting alternative history, alternative version of Doctor Who. And I have all of these films on physical media, so I can watch this triple bill today if I so choose. Yay, me! December 12th, 1979, a double bill of Norman J. Warren's Terror, and I believe it was Albert Band's Dracula's Dog opened. And although at this time I had become far more attentive to movie adverts in our daily newspaper, I don't remember this double feature release. That happens. I mean, it was 1979. I wasn't taking notes. Um, yeah, there are a few things I do remember about both films from back in the day. One was that the trailer for Terror was shown as part of a package, along with the trailer for 1979's The Dark. And that was on KTVU's Creature Features. I remember the trailer on that program. The other being that Dracula's Dog aired on television at some point. It may have been in Hong Kong when we were living there. I don't know. It was definitely post Salem's Lot, but neither my brother nor I recognized Reggie Alder, who had played Mr. Barlow in Salem's Lot, was in this film. Uh, but we did watch it, and Reggie Alder being in it and his rather distinct scarred visage are the only things I remember about it. I don't know if I'll ever revisit Dracula's Dog, or known as Zoltan, Hound of Dracula. But who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? You are. You are. Okay, soundtracks added to my collection. One, The Golden Age of Science Fiction, Volume 9, which is the soundtrack for the 1964 oddity Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. What was interesting about this also was that evidently there was a read-along book that was released to coincide with the film. And they also included that on the disc. And I was delighted to see that Dan Ocko and Ralph Bell, two people I recognized from the CBS Radio Mystery Theater in the 70s, were the voice actors hired to read and act on this this album, which I might try to sit through at some point. It's a delightful piece of ephemera I was not expecting to get, and it was just the chef's kiss on top of this really oddball release from I think it's Dragon's Domain. Speaking of Dragon's Domain, they also released the Lalo Schifrin collection, which gathers 4 different soundtracks that may or may not have enough material to warrant a solo release. This has 4 scores in it, and one was on my collecting radar that I really wanted. On disc 1, you have his scores for Voyage of the Damned, and The Four Musketeers, as well as a composition for solo harp. Disc 2 is the one that got me. It was his score for the 1977 William Girdler film Day of the Animals, which is a soundtrack that's been on my radar wish list for a while. and now I have it, as well as the score for The Eagle Has Landed, which was a 70s World War II picture that I think starred Donald Sutherland and Michael Caine. I'm pretty sure it was directed by John Sturges and was based off a novel by Jack Higgins. So, but I also added the Primevals to my collection. This is a full moon movie that started as an Empire picture, but the bankruptcy left the film unfinished until 2024, I think, is when Charles Band actually was able to work out all the rights and everything, and I believe it's out. I don't know if it's on physical media, but if I see it at the full moon table at Monster Palooza, I might just spring for it because it was directed by David David Allen, who did a pretty good job with Puppet Master 2, and it's got a lot of stop motion Yetis and stuff in it. It'll have a lot of stop motion because Alan was a stop motion guy, and I'm just like, yeah, I got enough nostalgic love for the Harryhausen and stop motion stuff to spring to see that movie sight unseen. I also added something that was in my wish list. It was the soundtrack for Santa Claus the movie. Henry Mancini did this score. It's the complete score, which is about 80 some odd or almost 80 minutes of music. What was interesting about this was that this was the second uh, pretty big flop of 1985 that Mancini had done a really good score for. The other was Toby Hooper's Life Force, which had come out in June. Santa Claus came out in December and kind of left a dent in the holiday box office. But I like the movie and I love John Lithgow. It's worth seeing just for Lithgow. He is hilarious in the movie. So those are the soundtracks I added to my collection. Let's go back to some ads. On December 15th, 1983, we saw the upcoming release of The Keep, Michael Mann's adaptation of F. Paul Wilson's novel, which turned out to be the first in the adversary cycle. Although at the time he wrote it, I don't think he knew that it was the adversary cycle, or that it would become the adversary cycle. I read The Keep while living in Hong Kong, and if my ever questionable timeline of how I am misremembering things is at all accurate, it was after I had read about the film adaptation in the pages of Fangoria magazine. Maybe. The film adaptation's theatrical release had come and long gone by the time I caught up with it on home video. And although I was a tremendous fan of Michael Mann at the time because of Thief, which I love, the alterations and liberties he had taken with the source material irked me to no end. I've watched The Keep once and have never had any kind of interest to return to it. December 16th, 1981, and Universal released a ghost story for Christmas. This was based on the acclaimed bestseller by Peter Straub, a book I had bounced off a couple of times before finally making it all the way through. And that was back when I was like 13. This film also deviates a tad from the source novel's sprawling narrative, but it still manages to generate some wintry chills in its own right. Even if it did choose to downgrade the cosmic horror level threat of the novel to just a woman's spirit seeking revenge upon the elderly men responsible for her tragic death many, many years in the past. December 17th, 1978, sees this teaser ad for Philip Kaufman's stellar remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This is a seminal movie for me, which I would see at the South Shore Cinema in 1979 on a double bill with The Day the World Ended. I think that was the title. Excuse me. And I doubt that there is any film better at encapsulating the emotional and intellectual dissonance that was occurring as the last vestiges of the counterculture settled into the banality of middle-aged existence, as the sexual revolution fizzled and cooled into, you know, conservatism. Um, yeah, Kaufman's Kaufman's movie nailed it, and I will say that this is my preferred version of the story, and it is a classic of its kind. And if you haven't seen it, please do to, please do so. I need to learn how to. I need to teach myself to enunciate better if I'm going to keep doing this. All right, December 18th, 1986, and King Kong Lives is about to open, and that is not a classic of its kind, or maybe it is. General audiences were not all that happy or interested in this campy, goofy, and nutty sequel to the 1976 film, which was only slightly less campy, a bit less goofy, and nowhere near as nutty as King Kong Lives. This thing left a smoking crater at the box office during the 1986 holiday movie season and most likely drove the final nail into the coffin of the short-lived DEG production company, DEG, De Laurentiis Entertainment Group. December 19th, 1974, and Young Frankenstein, which was the second of an amazing comedic 1-2 punch from Mel Brooks in 1974, is poised to open. That first punch, of course, was the Western genre parody Blazing Saddles, which had come out during the first part of the year. Here we have his iconic parody of the Universal monster movies, and it is a great film. It's hilarious, and it's also a Broadway musical, well worth seeing, and it makes a great way to polish off. If you watch all three of the 1930s Universal Frankenstein movies, and then this one, you will see all of the in-jokes and references that you might not otherwise. Or, at the very least, watch it on a double bill with Son of Frankenstein, which is the Universal monster or Universal Frankenstein movie it borrows from the most, narratively speaking. While I'm on the subject of a movie or movies, I added a few more to my collection. Severin had a sale, and I bought two smaller priced items because one of our cats, Simon, he got pancreatitis, and so the money I was planning on spending, or kind of thinking of spending, or indulging on during the Severin Black Friday sale, got eaten by vet bills and medication costs. So I went a little bit lower priced, and I picked up a DVD of something called The Trail of Dracula, which is a documentary that also contains 90 minutes of Dracula movie trailers, which I'm really looking forward to watching because I love movie trailers, sometimes more than the movies themselves. There's also an interview with Werner Herzog about what looks to be Nosferatu. No surprise. Also, an interview with the late Udo Kier called Blood for Udo, which is probably about his work on Blood for Dracula or Andy Warhol's Dracula or Young Dracula. And then there's also an audio interview with Christopher Lee and an audio interview with Francis Lederer, who starred in, I may starred in Return of Dracula. So, and author, historian Kim Newman is in there as well, and he's always fun to watch. So, also, I picked up the Blu-ray of Jess Franco's Count Dracula, which was his attempt at making a faithful adaptation of Dracula, which was the big selling point that got Christopher Lee uh, interested in it. Although by this time he was really frustrated with what Hammer had been doing with the part. He hadn't. It would be a few more years before he shrugged off the cape with disgust and never vowed to never play Dracula again. Although I really would have loved to have seen him play Van Helsing in a Dracula movie. I don't know if he would have, but it would have been fun to see. But I haven't seen this one yet, and hopefully I will revisit it in the early months of 2026. Also, while shopping at Amazon, they popped up into one of those little sidebars and stuff. Hey, we're selling this cheap. You want it? And I was like, yes, I do. And that would be The Devil Rides Out, a 1968 Hammer film at the very end of their, I guess what we would call their golden period or their golden age. They had a really hot decade, at least, of gothic horror bangers. And this is one that was based off a novel by Dennis Wheatley. The script was by Richard Matheson. It starred Christopher Lee and Charles Gray, who gnashed teeth and chewed scenery at each other. And it was directed by Terence Fisher, which just means it's a rock solid movie and one that I'm very happy to finally have added to my movie collection. All right, what's up next here? Ooh, December 22nd, 1974. And the Oakland Tribune's entertainment calendar Sunday supplement has a promo for a broadcast of a repeat of The Vampire, which is the fourth episode of Kolchak the Night Stalker. That would be airing on Friday, December 27th. And this is the only episode that has anything close to a connection to the original, the first Kolchak movie, The Night Stalker, which was in 1972. It was set in Vegas, and although Vegas is mentioned, there's no real strong or serious connection or reference to the first film made in this episode, which kind of bugs me. I mean, I understand why, because they just didn't do it all that much back then. Episodic television was kind of like each episode was its own distinct universe, and there would be a soft reset from episode to episode. But there's like when I just part of me is like when Kolchak's talking with Tony Vincenzo on the phone, he doesn't send any code of things like, yeah, this is somebody from Vegas, Tony, Vegas, remember Vegas? But they don't. C'est la vie. So it goes. December 23rd, 1930, going back in time here, and The Bat Whispers, which was the second of three film adaptation of Mary Robert Reinhardt's 1920 mystery play, The Bat, is poised to open on Christmas Day. Bob Kane claimed that the costume of the titular villain in this version of the movie helped inspire Batman. At least that's what he said in his autobiography. December 24th, 1974, Christmas Eve, and actually exactly 1 year to the day of the 1 year anniversary of The Exorcist Christmas Day opening, William Girdler's knockoff cash-in Abby is poised to grab some cash. Because nothing says Christmas better than demonic possession, right? Warner Brothers famously sued, and the movie was pulled from theaters for a short period. But there was a re-release in 1975 on a double bill with Beyond the Door, another Exorcist knockoff. So, Girdler and company won in the long run. December 25th, 1921. And just the other day, We had an ad for the Bat Whispers opening on Christmas Day. And here we have an ad for the source material, Mary Robert Reinhardt's play itself, The Bat, opening day on Christmas. The San Francisco Examiner printed a review on the 26th, Boxing Day, which raved that The Bat was a merry melodrama. It had mystery and laughs, surprises and laughs, complications and laughs, thrills all the time, and laughs all the time, which makes it sound like it was a lively and entertaining evening at the theater for him. The critic ended the review with the statement that The Bat was a play you must not miss. So sorry I missed it, but I didn't exist in 1921. So it goes. 1926, 1926. I did not exist in 1921. December 26th, 1943. And we have an ad for an episode of The Whistler that's going to be broadcast on the radio. The episode appears to be titled Murder Has an Alibi. Now, The Whistler was an anthology mystery suspense series that was more in the vein of Inner Sanctum than The Shadow, although the title, The Whistler, was more The Shadow than Inner Sanctum. But the Whistler never appeared as an actual character in the episodes, I think. He served more as an intro, outro, commentator, host, and would sometimes serve as a Greek chorus during an episode storyline where he would be like taunting character as they tried to weasel their way out of the repercussions of their nefarious actions. While there are a great many episodes of The Whistler available on various websites, including YouTube, this particular episode appears to be one of those that was lost to the ravages of time and circumstance. I can't find a recording of it anywhere. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is with old time radio sometimes. Books. I finished reading at the start of the month, saw me finish reading the anthology Dracula, Prince of Darkness. And I also read the short story novelette, The Deal of a Lifetime by Frederick Bachman, which you may not get this, but there was a short story I read in Rod Serling's Twilight Zone magazine called The Assignment by Mitch Potter. And Deal of a Lifetime really reads like the aspects of that short story mixed with It's a Wonderful Life. And it was a very nice, sweet, well, actually more bittersweet and melancholic, but also very upbeat, but very happy, very affirming story. Which, after reading A Man Called Ove and Britt Marie Was Here, is, right smack dab in Bachman's literary lane. I also read Mario Bava, Master of Horror, a book by Luigi Cozzi, who directed Star Crash. And I picked this up during a visit to the Profondo Rosso store in Rome during a trip to Italy. We made, I think, last year, 2024. And I've got a couple of other Profondo Rosso books. They're interesting. I was spurred on to read it because Jeff at Jeff's Cave of Cool Books did a flip through of Tim Lucas's massive tome on Mario Bava, which is a book way, 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 way out of my price range or ability to get. But I did get this book, and I read it. Now I want to watch some more Mario Bava movies, and also I want to give Mario Bava a hug, man. That guy he seemed kind of sad at times about his lot in life. He didn't like the movies he made, but they're great movies. He worked really hard on them. He did love it. Maybe he was just kind of defending himself against some of the more harsh comments and reviews some of his films got. As far as books added to my collection. I purchased the only book I bought this month was this thing called Weird Frequencies. I don't know if you've heard of it. Bunch of YouTubers wrote some stories. I don't know. I might read it in the first part of 2026, or I might get to it by 2036. I don't know. I've got a lot of books to read. Also, Santa delivered or dropped this under the tree. It's the first volume of the manga Kaiju number 8. And, I love Kaiju, and Santa knows I love Kaiju. So that will be hopefully read in the early portion of the year as of 2026. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I also added 2 issues of the Twilight Zone magazine, the May 1981 and October 1981 issue to that, and I will be reading stories and reviewing stories from that and other magazines in the new year. Speaking of magazines, December 29, 1921, and come here, Sam's being a doofus. So December 29, 1921. Yeah. Here we have an ad for the January 1922 issue of Hearst's International, which evidently was also part of Cosmopolitan. And this one hypes the start of the serialization of a new novel by Robert W. Chambers, called, I believe it was called The Talkers. I didn't recognize Robert W. Chambers' name at first, although I have read, where is it? It's sitting right here. I have read The King in Yellow, which is the book he's most famous for. So I might pick this one up if I can find a copy of it somewhere. It sounds interesting. Also, the H.G. Wells novel that is serialized in this magazine was The Secret Places of the Heart, which was one of his more grounded and naturalistic affairs. Pun not intended, because this book appears to be a fictional exploration of his troubled marriage and infatuation with Margaret Sanger, which sounds riveting, and I might read it at some point. I did like, excuse me, Wells' book. I think it was called the History of Mr. Polly, and I've read most of his science fiction work, so I'll check it out. Maybe. All right. Speaking of science fiction, December 30th, 1969, and here is an ad letting people know that there's going to be a special New Year's Eve showing of The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes. This was the first movie in what would become known as the Dexter Riley trilogy. It was followed by Now You See Him, Now You Don't, and The Strongest Man in the World. And I'm pretty sure that I saw all 3 of these on the big screen. I didn't see this release because I would have been all of 2 years old in 1969. So, but it was definitely during a re-release. And maybe, and I do remember seeing Now You See Him and Now You Don't. And I just remember being in a movie theater and seeing these movies. They're fun, goofy little science fiction comedies with a very young and unseasoned Kurt Russell, but still at that time a pro, but still looking like a kid. And then we come to the end of the month, the end of the year, December 31st, 1978. This is a full-page ad for a special New Year's performance of that Edward Gorey production of Dracula that's at the Curran Theater. I have no idea if Jeremy Brett performed in this one or his understudy did. I wouldn't be surprised. It's New Year's Eve, so I don't know how many people showed up, but it would have been a fun and interesting way to ring in the new year. I think you would have been home in time. Well, if you lived in San Francisco, chances are you would have been home in time to pop a bottle of bubbly and toast in the new year. But yeah, that's the new. Those were all the ads that I posted on my blog or blogs, either Ghoulies, Ghosties, and Long-Legged Beasties or the newspaper ad archive during the month of December 2025. And during the year, um, I read, according to Goodreads, I read 31 books. The first book I read this year was The Con Man by Ed McBain, which was the fourth 87th Precinct novel. And I'm hoping to make The Strange House, Volume 4 manga, my 32nd and final book of 2025. I'm going to hopefully read that within the next 12 to 24 hours. And the book that I'm crossing into and kicking off 2026 with is Clive Barker's Sacrament. I'm about a third of the way through it, and we'll discuss that in another video. And there you have it. If you've made it this far, I thank you. I hope you enjoyed my rambling and my stumbling oratory. I'm learning, yeah, I need a script or I will digress and wander all over the place and forget to mention this, that, the other thing. But yeah, say a bit of fond farewell, or maybe not so fond farewell to 2025, depending on how it treated you. And let's all hope that we all do a little better next year, because who doesn't want to do a little better? So I'll talk at you in the next video at some point. I'm gonna go read The Strange House Volume 4 and start another jigsaw puzzle video and listen to some soundtracks and just maybe watch a monster movie. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Actually, I've got a honeydew list I got to start on, but I digress because I always do. Happy New Year, and I'll talk at you soon again. Stay scary.